Shalom. First, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Dash. And this is a video on the current events that happened. Well, current event that happened over in Nepal. With the flood waters, the mudslide, and things of that sort, where it killed up to, they say, 100 plus people, 300 plus people, but the number is steadily climbing. I think it says something like 1,000 missing, something along those lines. Last time I checked this morning, but all that was the wrath of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah. You don't know when the Most High is gonna strike, and pull your number. Normally, it's like one people, but the Most High has been turning up lately. He's been getting people in masses. The Venezuela earthquake. Now you got this over in Nepal. And earthquakes in various other places. At the Most High, he's been getting, not just one or two. He's getting, he's running the scoreboard up as far as serving judgment on the heathen and you so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are the true biblical Israelites. You've been getting put to death lately. And believe me, there are worse, some Jakes, some Israelites who got put to death over there in Nepal on this recent mudslide. With the flood waters come gushing through. If you watch the videos, you see people trying to run for safety, run for cover. But the water was just too fast and too strong. And you saw people getting swept away. And then, you would see them for a second and then they just disappear in the mud and the water. So you have to say, Lord willing, that I'm going to make it to the day. Because those people got up that morning thinking, nothing's going to go wrong. You thought about a certain time. They had dinner plans, lunch plans. They having plans for tomorrow, the next week. And next thing you know, boom, they out of here, man. You in the spirit world. And you so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, keep playing with Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah. And you're going to find yourself on the wrong side of judgment. Because you still think it's a game, man. You still think it's a game, not having to turn back to your power. And those Jakes over in Nepal and Venezuela and other places all over the earth, they got put to death by these so-called natural disasters, or look in the spirit world looking crazy now. Well, they ain't looking crazy, but they in their right mind now. And they were judging, whether they're Israelite or a heathen. They're waiting to come back down. They're in queue, waiting to be reincarnated. Have that spirit go into a new body. And it's just that quick, man. Things can happen. I was sitting at a red light a few days ago, and it was raining or getting ready to rain. No, I take that back. It had just finished raining. So I'm sitting at the red light, And this Edomite across the street in a pickup truck is speeding, trying to catch this light. Cause I know this light, it changes so fast. And here it is. He's speeding, trying to catch the light, and you can just see his truck. He's starting to lose control of his truck, and it's coming right for me, man. I'm sitting here watching it, like, is this for real? This idiot's gonna fucking hit us, But the Most High had it to where that truck corrected, and that fucking moron, got control of that truck and kept going and didn't hit us. So that's why I continue to serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man, the fear of the Most High. He can plague you with sickness, serve you with a judgment, a nigga hitting you head on, or Edomite hitting you head on, or you get caught up in a so-called accidental freak accident. No, man. I try to stay in the good graces of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua the best I can, man. Continuing to do this work as long as I'm still moving, talking, and breathing, man. Because, ultimately you just have to fear the Most High, man, and fall in line. And that's very hard for the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, because they're very stubborn, hard-headed, and a rebellious people, man. But it's all right, though, because trouble's gonna start, and it's gonna be something out of this world, man. It's a time like none other in recorded history that the Most High is going to be putting Israel to death. But let's get some precepts here. This is Proverbs 20:24. It says, man goings are of Yahweh. How can a man then understand his own way? You can't really understand your own way. You have no control of it. And it just said that the Most High, Yahweh, is in control of your goings. And you had some people, like I was saying in Nepal, get up that day. They was thinking, I'm going to sleep in, whatever the case may be. And then, you still stuck there when you supposed to have been on a bus somewhere, on a plane, going into the next town where you could have avoided that. But no, the Most High had on your mind that you was going to miss that alarm clock, you were going to miss that ride, you were going to miss a lot of things, leading up to that point to where, if you were serving Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, you could escape that judgment. But you didn't. And the Most High had to set it up that way for not only for Jake and for the heathens too. They got put to death during that flood. That's a powerful power, man. He can set up all these different, here it is, it was hundreds of thousands of people that he all set up at that one time with different kind of scenarios, various scenarios on, who's going to be here at that time. This person was born this year. This person was born in that year. You had someone born this week. Things of that sort. All the different variables and ways that took place just for everybody to be at that one point to get judged, man. You can't understand the Most High, man. Like I'm saying, he's the Most High. You can't do nothing with him, man. He got all kind of ways to serve you up. And it had people and, had heathens and Israelites over there, that looked like the heathens, Israelite foreigners, all different age groups, all different, maybe lived in different parts of towns, cities, where it's even said where some Americans have flew over there. and they got caught up in that and put to death because that was like a hiking type of tourist town or something like that. So you got people from all different countries and things like that. And they all came to that place to get judged, man. Let's go to Jeremiah 10:23. It says, "O Yahweh, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps." So yeah, you don't have a clue, man. Where the Most High is going to have you turn. Even myself, even being in this truth for a while, I still get, thinking that I could have changed something. If I would have waited 10 more minutes, or if I would have left 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, an hour later, or I would have spent more time at this route, this wouldn't have happened. It was all set up for it to happen that way, man. And I go off of thinking I could have something to do with it, man. That I could have changed the outcome or something. But it's nothing I could have done, man. It was going to happen that way, and it did. And you so-called Negro Latinos and Native Americans, you are, especially the ones of you that are not in this truth, you can't be, thinking that you're in control of something, man. You got no favor. The Most High is, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is totally upset with you wicked Israelites. You ain't trying to serve the Most High. You still doing your own will. Well, you think you got will, but you got liberty. You think you doing what you want to do and getting away with it, man. But you're not. You're just going to, end up getting judged, man, and get put to death. And it's just that simple. It's a terrible thing to fall into the hands of the Most High power. I was trying to find that precept, but I couldn't remember which precept it was, so I just paraphrased it. You Israelites, been playing games for the longest, and eventually the game's gonna be over. And that's the best way you can show Jake is show Jake the hard way. But you're gonna see, because judgment is going out every day, man. So you can keep playing games, not want to serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. And like I said, you're gonna find yourself in a whole lot of trouble, man. Hey, but before I get out of here, I'm gonna give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rakah Kwadash.